Hi class, I'm going to give you a quick little AP style lesson for this week. And so I'm going to share my screen and go over just a few notes for you as we are continuing on our AP style journey. I guess it's a journey. So first of all, today we're going to go over a few more ways to use numbers, including how to use dollars, how to talk about money, how to use percentages, and we've talked a little bit about that, how you would incorporate any type of measurements in your writing, and then a link to some other things that you might just need to be aware of to consider when we are using numbers. So first of all, when you're talking about money, I just called it dollars. It could be any money, that cents, or if you are looking up money that is a different currency, so like the euro or the yen, make sure that you find out the AP style specifics for that if you're ever in that case. So for anyway, when you use the word dollars, always use lowercase, unless it's the first word of a title, of course, but you're gonna always use lowercase. You're gonna use figures, which are the numbers and the dollar sign, except in casual references with or amounts without a figure. So for examples of that, the book cost $4, or you could say, Dad, give me $1. You wouldn't put the dollar sign and a 1 instead of using the word dollar in that, because that is more of a casual reference. Or you would say dollars are flowing overseas. Those are casual references, so you're not going to use specifics in that. For specific amounts, the word's going to take a singular verb. He said that $500,000 is what they want. Even though that's more than $1, it's not going to be are what they want. It's going to be is what they want, because you're making it into one item. For amounts more than 1 million, use up to 2 decimal places, but do not link the numbers in the word by a hyphen. So for instance, he is worth 4.35 million. If he's worth 4.356 million, you would round it up to 4.36 million. So you go back and use your math, learn how to round up. It only go out to 2 places after the decimal. He proposed a $300 billion budget. And so in that case, you are just going to put the word billion beside it. The form for amounts less than 1 million, you want to make sure you use the numbers. But more than 1 million, you put 1, then the word million. So on to percentages. One more thing about dollars. If you have any question, there are a lot of other little things that you can write that might have to deal with dollars. Make sure you check it in the AP style book. If you ever are using cents, you don't use the little C cent sign. You write out the word cents. So if it's like 50 cents, you would do that. You can also do the number sign 0.50 cents in some cases, but double check the AP style for that if you're going to ever run into that situation. All right, so percentages, and this is a change from the last 2 years or so. But when you are using percentages, you use the sign when paired with a number with no space in between it in most cases. Examples of that: average hourly pay rose 3.1% from a year ago. Her mortgage rate is 4.75%. About 60% of Americans agreed, and so on and so on. This is different. If you see anything written from like 2 years ago, it would be 3.1, the word percent. 4.75, the word percent. That was a complete change in AP style. And they have made it to where now it is preferred to use the percentage sign. I don't personally like it, but it's not my job to make those decisions. In casual usages, you use the word rather than figures and numbers. So we're not talking about an exact 0% when she's talking about she said he has a 0% chance of winning. There's probably no empirical research data that's showing that. She's just using it in a casual manner. So you're going to write out the word 0 and write out the word percent, because we're not being really specific right there. At the start of a sentence, try to avoid the construction. If it's necessary to start out with a percentage, spell out both. So move this little thing. I can't move it. Dang it. That just shows an example of doing that. Go away. Oh well, I give up. So anyway, you would spell it out just like you would up here, okay? So on to measurements and dimensions. There might be a time where you are giving the height of someone, especially like in sports articles, or even you might want to talk about, a new building on campus is going to take up how many feet, et cetera, et cetera. So to do that, you use figures, which are the actual numerals, and you spell out the words inches, feet, yards, etc. to indicate depth, height, length, and width. You want to hyphenate when they become adjective forms before the noun, like you would a 3-year-old boy. It would be a 5'6" man. So it's becoming an adjective rather than a noun. So examples of this is he is 5 feet, 6 inches tall, versus the 5'6" man, or the 5-foot man, or the basketball team signed a 7-footer. When to use hyphens sometimes is really confusing. You want to use them when they are being a descriptive of a noun. So right here it's an adjective, and then right here a 7-footer. They've made that into a noun itself, and so it's hyphenated. And so those are just things you have to kind of be familiar with and make sure that you make yourself aware of the differences between. Other examples, the car is 17 feet long versus a 17-foot long car, you would hyphenate. It's 6 feet wide and 5 feet high. The rug is 5 feet by 12 feet. You might see this written in more casual references, not an AP style, maybe like 9 little dashes X by 12 little dashes up here, or 1 dash, 1 dash. But in AP style, you write it all out. The 9 by 12 foot rug, the foot thing got cut off. But that's how you would do that. The storm left 5 inches of snow. The building has 6,000 square feet of floor space. You wouldn't abbreviate that as you would most of the time in writing things maybe for a math homework. You use the apostrophe to indicate feet and the quote marks to indicate inches, only in very technical contexts. So if you were writing something for a technical document, you can use this. But in AP style, in a news article, a feature article, you're going to write things out instead. There are more numbers to consider when you are looking at AP style entries. And so I'm just going to click into the AP style book and go into things that you're going to want to make sure that you make note of if you are including any of these in your writing. So for instance, academic course numbers, you use the numerals. History 6, philosophy 209. This is Comm 201 or 310. And so that would use the numerals there. If it were Comm 3, you would not spell out the word 3, even though it's under 9 or under 10, you would use the numeral there. We've gone over addresses before, so you should get that. We've gone over ages. We've gone, when you are talking about planes, ships, spacecrafts, you use the actual numbers. Sometimes you might have something that has a Roman numeral versus the actual numeral like here. So Queen Elizabeth II, that's the name of the ship. If you were to use her name in something, you would use the Roman numeral 2 instead. And so those are just things just to be aware of. Always double check yourself. Centuries, for numbers higher than 10, you can use the numeral, the 21st century, versus the 5th century. And note that they're all lowercase. They aren't proper nouns unless they are used for the specific organization. For court decisions, you use the numerals 5-4, 5-4, the court ruled 5-4. For dates and decades, we've gone over a lot of this in class, but remember you can use things like the class of 66, the class of 04, the class of 24. You don't have to spell that out. You can just use the little apostrophe and then the last two numbers. If it's going to be, we're getting into the time where I think this might change soon with the class of type references, because if you're saying the class of 20, you could be considering 1920 versus 2020. So you always want to make sure that if it is anything that might be questionable, use the full year. We just talked about decimals and percentages. Distances, he walked 4 miles, he missed the 3-foot putt. So there you are again, learning to use the hyphen if it is an adjective. Golf clubs, you might want to report on golf. You use the figures there to distinguish between the different types of clubs. Highway destinations, you use the figures. No hyphen between highway designation and the number. For mathematical usage, you use the figures. You don't write out the numbers there. And then so on. I won't go into all this, but here is where I showed you earlier monetary units. You would write 5 cents versus the little cent sign you might have been taught in kindergarten. So there are a lot of things to consider. Every time you have numbers in there, you might want to make sure that you just double check yourself as you are writing. For instance, World War I versus the number 1, King George V versus the number 5, the 1969 Super Bowl, not Super Bowl III, are how things would be entered, would be referred to in there. They're referred to by their years rather than the Roman numerals, because how many people can tell me what year Super Bowl 13 was without doing some quick math right now? Probably not that many people, but you would be able to know when it was if you gave the year. So just when in doubt, double check and you will be in good shape. So there's your quick AP style review for this week, and I hope everyone has a great Wednesday and Friday, and I look forward to seeing the topics that you would like to choose for your next paper. If you have any questions or just want to run some ideas by me, feel free to shoot me an email. I should be able to answer those just fine. Hope everybody's doing well, stay safe, and I will see you Monday.